When you think of child labor, you often think of these images of children sweating it out in factories in China or making clothes in Pakistan. But rarely this. Kids working on America's farms.
Working together with these things, and when they swing it back, they could hit somebody in the head or in the arm and get cut.
In the U.S., it's still legal for children as young as 12 to work in agriculture. And while you have to be 18 to buy tobacco products, you only have to be 12 to work in America's tobacco fields.
Is it hard work? No!
When we heard that kids even younger than 12 were working in tobacco fields, we went to North Carolina to find out if they are, in fact, among the cheap labor force working in this toxic crop. Part of their job of migrant farm workers is to basically go into these fields and cut and take these flowers off. And this is tobacco flower, so that all the energy of the plant goes into the leaves. People get green tobacco poisoning because the nicotine is absorbed through the skin. And that's one of the dangers of working out here. After combing through a few tobacco fields, we meet this young man.
How old are you? 12.
As we were about to leave the fields, the two boys who said they were 12 years old went back into the rows of tobacco to work. But it wasn't long before we run into these little guys walking barefoot outside a patch of tobacco. Jasmine is 10, Ruby just 8 years old. Both too young for the legal age allowed by federal child labor laws, yet both are getting paid to work trimming tobacco, according to family members. 3 generations of Jasmine's family work here, including her grandmother and her mom, Adria.
12, 13. Yeah, that's when I started working it. And smoking it when I was in my 20s, because I'm in my 30s now. My mother has been working since she moved here to the United States. She's been working out in the outfields. My dad, the same. And then we started growing up, so we started working in it. And then now it's our kids trying it out.
Like the kids who work in the factories in China, these kids can work up to 60 to 70 hours a week, child labor advocates tell us. We caught up with Jasmine and Ruby at their pickup truck. Yeah? Is it hard work?
Yeah. No, not really. It's very easy. Hey, Ruby. Hi. Is it hard work? No. Why don't you wear shoes?
Because I don't have shoes. I left them at home.
There was some boys here yesterday. Like 11-year-old, 12-year-old boys, but I don't know what happened to them.
Farm worker advocates estimate that there are 400,000 children working in America's fields every year. We were surprised that no government agency keeps track of how many kids work in tobacco fields, despite the potential dangers.
We don't know what tobacco exposure poses for children other than they can get nicotine poisoning. What the long-term effects of that exposure are have not been studied, so we really don't know.
Thomas Arkery works at the Wake Forest University School of Medicine. He found that non-smoking workers had nicotine levels equivalent to regular smokers by the end of the tobacco season.
Children who are working in the fields, we would expect at the end of the tobacco season to have as much nicotine in their system as would smokers.
You think you're too young to work?
Really, yeah, but I still try it.
People may criticize that she shouldn't go even though she wants to try it. It's understandable. I don't worry about it because she's my daughter, and if she doesn't want to go, then she doesn't have to.
But she's not just doing it to try it. There's another reason so many children like Jasmine work in farms.
She's always been the type of person to try to figure out money-wise, so she'll try anything. She helps out a lot in the of bills and stuff like that.
She does?
Yes, she does.
They have to work in the tobacco because they need to make money for their families. They need to eat. They need school clothes. These are generally poor families. So we are asking poor children to take risks that we would not ask middle-class children or wealthy children to take.
Farm workers are among America's poorest people. 3 out of 5 farm worker households live below the poverty level, earning less than $10,000 a year.
And it does paint a picture of just how broken the system is when you have to depend on your children to be able to even feed them or to buy school supplies.
Norma Flores grew up as a migrant child. Now she wants to make it illegal for 12-year-old children to work in the fields.
These kids are falling behind in school, dropping out at alarming rates, and not being able to even go on into college. The realities are that these kids, while working out in the fields, they are getting hurt.
Agriculture is the most dangerous industry for children, according to the federal government. More children die every year working in this industry than any other. Of all 16-year-old kids and under killed on the job last year, 74% of them worked in agriculture, according to Human Rights Watch. The law allowing kids as young as 12 to work on farms hasn't changed since 1938. That's because groups like the American Farm Bureau have opposed change in the name of protecting the family farm. The American Farm Bureau, with more than 6 million members, is one of the most influential lobbies in Washington. So we're here in San Antonio at the American Farm Bureau convention to get some answers about child labor in America. Among the 5,500 people attending the convention, we found the president of the North Carolina Farm Bureau, Larry Wooten. He told our friends at the Nation Institute that kids under 16 could not be found working in North Carolina's tobacco fields. My name is Raina Ramirez. I'm with Fusion. You were quoted in the Nation saying that you weren't aware that kids were working in tobacco fields in North Carolina.
Kids have always been working in tobacco fields. If there's a problem, then we need to have it exposed if there's a problem with that. Sometimes they're there because it's safer for the children to be there in the field with their parents than it is to leave them unattended somewhere else, I guess.
If kids who are 12 working in tobacco, do you think that's a problem?
Where are kids 12 working in tobacco?
In North Carolina.
Well, I haven't seen it or
I have video of it. We were here in North Carolina and found some of this.
I've got to run. I'll see you later. Thank you very much.
But here are kids working in the fields. I guess he doesn't want to see this picture of kids working in the fields in North Carolina. Larry Wooten said he would get in touch. We didn't hear from him again. We did manage to sit down with Bob Stallman, the president of the National Organization of the American Farm Bureau. The Farm Bureau successfully lobbied against an effort by the Labor Department from banning children under 16 from doing hazardous agricultural work. That includes working in tobacco fields. Kids aren't allowed to buy tobacco until they're 18, but yet they're working as young as 12 in tobacco fields. Why is that?
I did not know that it was legal for them to do that. I really don't know. I do not know what the law is, other than how it applied to me. And I know that the standard answer is if it is legal, then perhaps the law needs to be changed. But if it's legal, a farmer and rancher will probably allow that to happen if it's legal.
One last question. You have to be 14 to work in a grocery store, but you can be as young as 12 to work in the fields. Is that backwards?
It would depend, in my mind, on what the work is. If once
picking
again,
tobacco, picking blueberries, picking potatoes.
Picking a crop. Once again, as long as the safety of the children was ensured, I would see no problem with that.
The bottom line is every one of these families takes their kids out there because they need to be able to eat. These young kids are going to grow up to be the next farm workers and taking their kids with them and just continuing the cycle that these families are having such a hard time escaping.